Hey, you guys, it's Tamika Chambers with Create a Love Cycle. Today is June 11th, 2021. As we're moving through the months, I feel like it's going by so fast. As you know, this is PTSD Awareness Month. And when we're talking about PTSD, we're talking about those lingering emotions that continue to plague many people about there could be several experiences, a divorce, mother and father divorce, separations, car accidents, childhood sexual abuse, war, just many things that may throw us off track a little bit. And so instead of focusing on exactly what PTSD is, I'd like to focus on the root of many of the things that do throw us for a loop. And one of the things that I focused on this week is myths, our myths. And it's those expectations that we have of people. And when people turn out to be somebody that we don't want them to be or didn't expect them to be, we are then hurt and feel like that we've been betrayed. And so one of the things that I do mention several times as I'm working, doing edits on my memoir, Bent Not Broken, which is about my childhood experience with sexual abuse, is that I remembered, and it's always been in my memory, when one of the two family male members, we were outside playing, and all of a sudden he was in front of me. I didn't even realize it. Just, a kid enjoying, laughing, because I still wanted to have fun, right? I was a child, and I tried not to focus on so much of what happened, but who I wanted to be and the type of life I wanted to have. And so he was in front of me, and all of a sudden he turned around and he said, "It wasn't that bad." And it kind of threw me for a loop there. I was like, what? Did he really just say that to me? But somehow I knew that it wasn't about me. It was more about him, because since day one, he had denied his experience. One of the family male members that I considered when I was a child, the nicer one of the two, had denied his involvement in it. And so here he is today, not only denied his involvement, but also was belittling what had happened. And so early on, that was a wake-up call for me. Because as I observed, as I listened, as I sought nature, as I sought truth, I realized that family members, just because people are family doesn't mean they're always going to have your best interests, that they too have emotions, they have feelings. And when we set our family members on high expectations, because I was like, they're supposed to guide you, direct you, have fun, show you life. And it was a pure wake-up call, after having the backlash from my father about telling on him and him abusing my mother. Here are two family members that were also, as I learned later, as I understood later, they were also they were abusing me. They were not seeing my truth, my body, as not being just flesh. That I was more than my body, that I had something to offer, that my life is my life and no one has the right to oppose it, of disrupting who I am. And so even though that was a wake-up call, I just realized that, not to expect so much from people, to really try to let go of those expectations. Not that I didn't have them, but I didn't hold them. I try not to hold people in such high regard, because I realized that even family members And I don't like to use the term, but even them, they make mistakes. Nobody is a robot. You can't make people be who they are not. I couldn't make my father be who he was. I couldn't make those two family members be who they were. I couldn't make anyone do or be anything I wanted them to be. So for me, I turned inward and I relied more on God, and I relied more on myself than I did of others. Now, and that's one of the things that you have to be careful of, because bitterness can come around, anger, resentment. And for me, I realized through everything that I had to keep myself away from a lot of those negative emotions. Not that I didn't have them, but I struggle with them. I had my battles, and I just tried to keep my head above water. That I wanted more to live my life than I didn't want to live my life. Okay? Because I felt like my life was my life and no one had the right to take that from me. So learning at a young age not to rely on people was a great lesson, because I think it caused me not to hold on or harbor so much hate and resentment and vengeance and shame and guilt, because I had to let them go in order to let me go, right? And so I didn't like to feel anger or upset. So if someone did something, I supported them the best way I could. I supported those two family members the best way I could. Even when one of them lost a loved one, I was there to support, because I focused on me and not who you were. And so many times we have these expectations growing up, even with our coworkers, our bosses, our husbands, our wives, our children. And I that early teaching has been in the back of my mind when I feel like that I had expectations, or that I feel like I was disappointed. I kind of go back and say, wait a minute, they're human too. And you have to let people be who they are. You have to separate yourself from the experience so you don't get all wind up in it. And thank God for that teaching as a young child, because I think it's what has helped me to be in the best health possible. It's helped me to focus on what I like to do, my purpose. It's helped me to heal from the inside out by letting go of those expectations, by letting go of those myths that I have about people, and just really focusing on enjoying life instead of holding people, bounding them to who I want them to be. And acceptance is basically what you get to, is that, have you accepted people for who they are and what they've done? Have you accepted yourself? Have you accepted the role, the expectations that you had, and have you let those expectations go? Because your life is important. My life is important. Our lives are important. And just knowing that we cannot control others. The only person we can control, and I know you've heard it, is ourselves, right? And so I just want to leave you with that thought today, is that, when you think about those disappointments that you have, even the disappointments we carry from childhood, what were those myths, those expectations that you had about other people? And then how can you let those expectations go? How can you accept people for who they are and for what they did, even if you didn't like what they did? How can you accept it as it was and let it go? Because I can tell you that continue to harbor hate and anger and resentment and bitterness truly only hurts us. That I think for me, I had to realize that people go on with their lives with or without you. And if anybody deserves to live, it's definitely me, it's definitely you. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope I've imparted some wisdom onto you, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I look forward to speaking with you again next Friday on creating a love cycle, because we're not focusing on breaking the cycle of pain. We're focused on what we can do to replace it, not just break it, but what can we put in place of it? And that's creating a love cycle, and that's letting go of myths and expectations, and letting go of disappointments, and accepting things as they are, as we have them. And when you do that, just think of yourself. Think about what it is that you want from life, and think about how letting go of those myths and expectations will help you have the peace that you deserve, the joy that you deserve. All right, take care. I'll talk to you guys soon.